PT 1180 AM. 1180 AM. 765-0097 is a call-in line if you want to call in this morning. That's 765-0097 for the second half of this show this morning. We'll be coming here every morning from 8 to 10 on a daily basis. We'll be on Facebook Live. We'll be on WLTT 1180 AM. Going to have an upbeat show again tomorrow morning. I'm bringing in Floyd Morgan from Tax Cuts, and we're going to talk about black money for the second half. So big tune to Tony. And met this brother years ago out of Fayetteville. Came out of Fayetteville, definitely graduated from Fayetteville State University. But I met him a couple of years ago at an event we had, a 1,000-man march here, where we were rallying behind the death of a young gentleman that died in this city. And we were talking about social action. And I was keen to this, I was drawn to this brother because his whole concept was we can't have social action without monetary action. We got to figure out a way to make some money and keep some money flowing through our neighborhoods and figure out how to increase black money. So I want to bring him on tomorrow at the second half of the hour. So, no, Friday. I'm sorry. Friday is the second half because we're doing the shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Friday's second half. Be tuned to Tony in. You'll see it posted on my page. That's again Floyd Morgan from Tax Cuts, and we're going to be talking about black money all day long and how to make some, how to keep some, and how to make it grow. The day, November the 8th, I want to say shout out. I didn't do my birthday this morning on the first half. Esther Rowe. Esther Rowe's birthday was today. Esther Rowe, you might remember, played Florida Evans on Good Times. And I want to talk about Esther real quick because Esther was close to my heart. Good Times was a show that was close to my heart. Many of you also grew up. Good Times were the first before the Cosbys. Before you had the Cosbys, you had the Evans family. The Evans family was the first black family, and to me, always the number one real black family in America because it represented the black America that I grew up in, and it represented the black America that I know for the most part. Florida took on this role after she was a house. If you notice the history, she was first the maid of Maude. And she came from the show Maude and took on this show. But there's been a lot of talk about the behind the scene things that went on. And I want you to study those behind the scene things that go on in Hollywood and television as it affects our community. You later remember in the show that James was killed off. I think around the third season, James was killed off. And one of the reasons why James Evans, James Amos, the later way in Roots, one of the reasons why he left the show was because of not the person of Jimmy Walker, JJ, but the character that he had taken on that was becoming more buffoonery versus serious issues that needed to be discussed. You got to remember, Good Times had some serious issues. I don't know if y'all remember the Black, you remember the Black Jesus episode where Michael put the Black Jesus on the wall, how they had, the family had to get to it because Florida was a diehard Christian. She was about her Jesus. And James was, James gambled a little bit, drunk a little bit, but he took care of the family. He was there for the family. He was that typical father figure in the family. That's what made so Good Times such a great show. You had that hard work, and James would do what it took to put the food on the table for that family. And then you had Thelma, then you had the neighbors, the janitor, and then you had little Michael, the revolutionary. JJ was the clown, Michael was the serious one. And Michael put that Black Jesus on that wall, and it caused so much conflict and turmoil between the family, but how they end up resolving the situation was the key. The family grew on us. And Florida Evans, Esther Rowe's mother, the mother who James would get on her nerves, but she never would yield the authority of the house to herself. JJ always had to go through James. Thelma couldn't go out unless James approved. Michael could not do anything unless James approved. Any decision was a family decision. At the end of the day, it needed James' final approval to get it done. Even when James was out of work, even when James was struggling to find a job, even when James would come home a little tipsy, even when James would stay and blow the money at the pool hall, James was still the matriarch of that family. I know I'm stepping on toes this morning, but we got to understand how the family structure used to be before we came up with all these other social norms and social adjectives, how to describe the Black family. We have what we call today blended families, y'all. That's a concept that I'm writing about now, blended families. We don't have Black families, and we have blended families. And sometimes we try to create blended families under the old construct, and it doesn't work because we don't understand the nature of blended families. The nature of blended families is very detailed. And that's what we have a lot in our community. The families that are successful in our community now are learning how to get past this concept of blended families. Most men that come to the table with children. That's just a fact in the Black community. Most sisters that come to the table, a lot of them come to the table with children from someone else. So nowadays in the Black community, when a young man and young woman get together, because of the norms of this society outside, I mean, y'all got to understand, go back to the norms have changed. When I talk about Florida on her birthday today, when I talk about Esther Rose, understand how the norms used to be. Thelma was the baby girl. You just wasn't walking up on Thelma like that. James was not having that. Wasn't anybody coming to the house and dating Thelma. Thelma wasn't, you knew what Thelma was. James knew what time she got in. Those were the norms. So as society changed, we're up under a different construct. We can't operate under those norms because we're working under a different construct now. Children stay out, go and come and go as they please now in a lot of households. Start dating at an early age, 12, 10. Boyfriends at 10 and 12. That's just the new, that's what we've integrated into, y'all. It's just as simple as that. Might disagree with it, but that's where we're at. So you have to learn how to adjust in those norms that we're dealing with. So in that blended family that we're dealing with now, opposite the family, because even the Huxtable family wasn't a blended family. Some stages of it with little Ramon, when she came and he brought his daughter to the family, that was part of the blended family structure. You see some of it. But most of the times, mothers and fathers have to deal with other adults as regards to children that may not be theirs. Fathers, men, let me talk to you real quick before I talk to the women on this. Because this is Esther Rose's birthday, and I want to talk about that right there because she was that family matriarch. She was that stronghold. She held it together. Men, when you go out and date, or when you go out in a courtship process, or when you are looking for someone, men, Black men specifically, in my community, understand when you get ready to define that relationship, if there's children involved, you have to really define that relationship. If they're younger children, school age, or older, maybe in their 20 below, you really have to define that relationship because you need to be dealing with a spouse that's not in the house. You need to be dealing with a spouse that's not in the house. Well, that's her baby's daddy. I hate that terminology, baby daddy. That's the children's father. I hate the terminology, baby mama. That's the children's mother. There's a difference between a daddy and a father. And if you give a man a respect as a father, he will behave as one. If you treat him like a daddy, he will behave in the manner in which you treat him. I like to use the term father. Those children, young brother, that you over there with have a father. And I don't care what she says. You need to go find that father. I don't care if she says he's nothing. I don't care if she gets upset with you. You need to go and find the father because you need to develop a relationship with the father on how you and him are going to handle his children. And what is your role to be with his children? I don't care what she says. Mothers, I am to you. You found him at the club the other night. He got 2 baby mamas. So y'all say. Again, he has 2 mothers of his children, is the terminology I like to leave. But y'all were out, y'all met each other, and you started talking. He was fine, and y'all got together. But he's got 2 children outside. He got children elsewhere. You need to have a relationship with those mothers. You need to find some kind of way to form a relationship with those mothers. Because if not, the blended family concept is not going to work. You must find some kind of way to make a bridge, to make conversation, because he still has to be father first and not baby daddy. He still has to be father, and in being father, he needs those children, just like your children will need the involvement. Those children need involvement in their family on a day-to-day basis, even if he had to call on a day-to-day basis. I don't want him calling her. Well, he got to do it, because that is the way blended families have to survive. We cannot survive under the economic model of the European system. It says, split them in half. You take them and go this way. I take them and go this way. I'm going to send the payments in and everything going to be fine. We meet each other together on Christmas. We can't do that. It further divides our community. Within our community, it's so small anyway. Half the time, if he's on that side of town and she's on that side of town, y'all know each other anyway. So we went to school together. What's the problem to getting along together now and helping survive those children? That was what I loved about Good Times, and that's what I loved about Florida Evans on her birthday today. She made sacrifices to give the role for a family, of how a family was to maintain structure. She sacrificed some careers, because after that, she didn't get many more roles after that. After Norma and Leah got upset with her and James for leaving the show, they didn't get many much roles. It wasn't until Roots came along that they started getting a lot of roles again, because of the blackball you get in Hollywood when you go against what they want to give you buffoonery. Sometimes the comedy part, and right now, it ruined Jimmy Walker's career, because all he was known after that was for being a clown. He never had stand-up after that. He never had any good movies after that. The last thing he was in, Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, gave him a break, brought him back in as a string bean boxer, and Let's Do It Again. But besides that, he didn't have any more movies. She sacrificed and paved the way. So I wanted to just share that today with families. I'm going to be talking about that in detail as we go along, more about families and more about family structure, because I really believe that if we get the family back together, we'll unite. The last few minutes, last couple of hours ago, we talked about the local politics. Yeah, I got to go national, talk about national. 765-0097. When we come back, we're going to discuss what happened last night on the national level. There's some key things that happened that we need to discuss real quick before we get out of here this morning. And we need to talk about that and talk about some other things that's going on with our president and how it affects us.
And experience Blackout Friday. So happy Friday, Saturday, November 24 and 1890 Dawson Street. CLR Radio presents the North Carolina Black Business Directory Blackout Friday weekend event. Shopping, food, music, and more. It's 9 a.m. until everything is gone. Going down Friday, Saturday, November 24 and 25. For more information, call 910-547-6674. For vendor info, RSVP at rejoice@gospeljoy1490.net. First 60 vendors receive free ad space for the event. It's the North Carolina Black Business Directory Blackout Friday weekend event. It's all happening Friday, Saturday, November 24 and 25. 1890 Dawson Street. Come and experience with us.
There is a fresh new conservative voice here in the Wilmington, North Carolina area. It's the C.L. Bryant Show. Tune in daily, WLTT, 1180 a.m. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WLTT 1180 or COI Radio, LLC.
We're back. This is No Covers. This is our No Covers live talk show, Straight Talk No Chaser. Good morning to the Little Guys. I see Sister Saturia online, the Little Guys Academy. I know y'all probably in class right now, so I'm going to send a shout out to you little guys over there in the homeschool network. You all keep studying the history lesson that we give you every morning. Keep running, as I always say. So I want to quickly shout out to them. You know, I homeschooled my children up until about middle school. I was able to transfer them from homeschool to the early college program when they got to high school level. I sent them to all of my children homeschool up until that time period. We had discipline and we had a network. And homeschool is a good way to create discipline in children. I look at my children now and I see the results of the homeschool that we had with them and how it benefited them. They were able to learn Spanish at an early age. Like I said, most of my children were homeschooled all the way up to middle school, and all of them were selected and were able to go into the early college program because they had the academics there. Now, you lose a lot with homeschool. You lose sports. So if you got a LeBron James is about 6'9", you might not want to send him to homeschool. You got a Terrell Owens in your house, you might want to send him over there. But a lot of times in the educational system, we lose it. I ran into a gentleman the other day. I said we were going to go national. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I want to talk about this real quick, though. I ran into a gentleman the other day, young guy, came out, had got in trouble. And I explained to him why he had got in trouble, because he had got out of high school, used to play basketball and football, but couldn't understand why he was in trouble, why he ended up in the drug game. And I explained it to him real quick, why he ended up there. And I told him it was a process that I've studied for some time. Most of the time, our young males are pushed into what? Sports, football and basketball. I never forget, my son, Kashif, used to play football. Now, I look at Kashif and I look at his mother and I look at me. I knew the boy, my son, was never going to be big enough to play professional football. So I look at my size and I look at my family size. So early on, even though he loved sports and he loved football, I knew he was never going to be a running back in the NFL. I don't care how many touchdowns he scored for Power One. It just didn't make sense to push this boy and drive no matter how much he loved it. So as a father, I had to take away something he loved. And he was mad at me for a minute because I took away football. I put him in boxing because I knew he was athletic. He could box pound for pound. I put him in boxing to give him the discipline. And then I sent him to early college to get a 2-year degree. He sat on my couch the other night about a week ago, and he told me, he said, I appreciate what you did. I didn't know it at the time, but I appreciate it now. See, sometimes as parents, we have to make hard decisions early on, and our children appreciate it later. I just simply had to make the decision that there was no reason for you to go to high school, run up and down a football field, when 9 times out of 10, you wasn't going to make it into college in the country playing football. But I could send you over here to get an associate's degree and graduate at 18 years old with an associate's degree in general studies. Made more sense. So appreciate you, Sister Terry, all you do with the homeschool network, the little guys over there, and the children that you help, and the other families that you help support with homeschooling. So now we turned blue yesterday. Are we okay? The post-election wave said we created a blue wave yesterday. Virginia, other cities, the blue wave was created. 7650097 is our call-in number. The blue wave. That means we went back to the blue side and we got energy now. We're running now. And Trump is still doing what Trump's plans to do. It's scary times, people. It's scary times. Because if we feel that just turning blue is going to solve the divide, we're in for a big surprise. If we feel that just winning some elections is going to solve the problems that we have in this country, we're in for a big surprise. I said over and over on these airwaves, I understand Donald Trump. I understand the mind of Donald Trump. I understand every move Donald Trump makes because, believe it or not, a large majority of America accepts the moves that he makes. When he says, don't try us, there are those that say, man, you better chill with that. We ain't trying to get nuked up over here. And then there's the mind that will blow you off the face of the earth. Understand that mind is real. Understand that mind exists. Understand that that mind that I will obliterate you off the face of the earth is at the coffee shop, is at the grocery store, it's behind the sales counter, it's at the car lot, it's in the school, it's in the universities, it's the worker next door to you in the cubicle, or the one standing right across to you on the plant floor. When he says, don't try us, there are those within this country that says the same thing. They don't care about nobody but themselves. Understand that mind exists and is real. He ain't no clown, as we want to call him. He understands that he speaks to a growing number of people that could care less. And if you get in their way, they'll destroy you too. If you try to stop them, they'll destroy you too. There are some that could care less whether career exists or not. They're human beings, but they could care. Babies and all. They wouldn't lose one blink of sleep. That's the sad state of affairs. See, when you talk about ISIS, when you talk about Islam that's radical, that could kill us, it's the same mind. When you talk about, and me having grown within the society, have lived in certain communities, I know that mind that thinks that way. They could care less about Christians. Some of them. They could care less about going in and detonating a bomb and blowing up they could care less. Because they have the same mind as the person who says, don't try us. Both minds are the same. One is just on this side of the water and the other one is on the other side of the water. But the two minds are the same. The mind that I'm better. The mind that I'm better than him. That's an evil mind. That what makes you better? Is it my skin? Is it my money? What is it? I am better than that person. Love, we talked about, and we continue to talk about on this show. I am no better than the man on the street with a can trying to get a cup of coffee. Why? Because but for the grace of God go I. I am no better than him. Circumstances just came upon him that didn't come upon me. But the same circumstances could have came upon me. How would I make it through? So I'm no better than the homeless person. I'm no better than the criminal element that comes out of the community. We call them people who were formerly incarcerated. I'm no better. Why? Because how many of us have done something that we shouldn't have done that could have caused us to be in harm's way, or could have caused us some times, or could have caused us to be in the court system? And I'm not talking about since we became so pure. I'm talking about when we were younger, when we were 14, 15, 16. I'm talking about when we were young. How many of us were participating in activities that could have went the wrong way, and we were in that car at night driving, and all of a sudden we hit a tree and we're paralyzed, or we get in a charge that destroys our whole life. 15, 16-year-old being charged with assault with a deadly weapon. How many of us could have been in that same situation and the tables have been turned now on us? How many of us could have been stricken with some kind of polio or some kind of disease or something that causes us that we lose this job and lose that job and lose our home and lose our car, and now we're sitting on the street and not understanding? Here's a man who went over to a war and fought for this country. Came back with his head all messed up. I seen him. I know. I had an uncle like that. His head all messed up. Can't function. How many of us could have been in the same situation? So we have to always say, there but for the grace of God. But when we start to take on the attitude, I'm better. What makes you better? Because of your color? Because you got more money? Because you're American? No. I wish every person, especially of color, would have the opportunity to fly outside of the United States of America and travel the world. I was blessed at 18 years old to go to Rome, to go to Paris, to go to Germany, go overseas, Italy. I was blessed to see some slums outside of America. I was blessed to get the attitude of people who didn't live in America. I was blessed to see the other side of the world and see how they think and how they look at this subordinate attitude. I call it the Star Trek syndrome. That's what he has. That's what he's displaying. And people are falling in line with it. Understand, that person that says, don't try us, is the person sitting right next to you sometimes at your job. It's the Star Trek syndrome. I'm a Trekkie. Whenever you watch Star Trek, I'm a Trekkie. Kirk always wins. The most intelligent man on the ship got pointed ears. He's different. He thinks logical. The smartest man in engineering is Scotty. He's down in engineering. Kirk can't beam nothing up without Scotty. He can't make it go and walk without Scotty. But every time, it's Kirk who wins. It's Kirk who has the superior knowledge. It's Kirk who gets them out of trouble. We got to get out of the Star Trek syndrome. We got to see everybody as they are. We got to see white, black as they are. Oh, I used to hate. Oh, I used to cut them. Good morning, Brother Roscoe. I used to, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I used to cut you from one side to the other. Didn't have a fine for the other race. But I had to grow. I had to understand. I remember minister said one time, he said the minister told him, stop throwing mud in a well he's trying to get a drink of water out of. I had to grow. I had to understand that everybody don't think the same way. I had to sit and break bread and sit with people. We talk about what happens if my son comes home gay? What happens if your daughter comes home gay? You gonna kick them out? The society is the society you live in. You have very little control over that. That's a spiritual warfare. I can't control. I can control the physical one in my house though. You gonna kick your son out because you disagree? You gonna kick your daughter out because you disagree? You better try to get them to understand, but to kick them out, a loved one? My neighbor, I have to understand. We've got to become each other's keeper, but we also have to have checks and balances with each other. We have to have more love with each other. But this attitude that's circulating right now has to be destroyed, or it's going to destroy this country. I am better. I'm better than Korea. I'm better than China. I'm better than Japan. So that it's in the neighborhood, I'm better than the one across the street. I'm better than ones in Creekwood. I'm better than ones in Houston Moore. The I am better attitude is a warped mind. It has to be changed. And if we don't change it soon, it's going to change for us. I listen to the language. I don't like the language. I don't like the way it sounds. It's clear where it's coming from. It's clear that there's a large majority that believe that way because they're not saying don't say it. But it's going to continue to produce anger and frustration. This gun control issue we talked about the other day before yesterday, and we talked about it again on Harvard Show, is real. The stockpiling weapons is real. We're seeing mass shootings is real, and we're going to see more. Because why? The I am better attitude. What makes you better? I don't know. I'm just better than he is. He's just a bum. She sleeps around. I'm better. Sisters, stop calling each other that word. You know which one I'm talking about. Young women that's listening to the show, the young women that tune in, stop calling each other that word. We're going to march up and down the street and tear up because the President of the United States says some vulgar language, and now we kneeling. But look at how we talk to each other every day. Look at how we deal with each other every day. Look at our interactions with each other every day. Never, I had to go on my Facebook page the other day and publicly apologize. Never be so big that you can't apologize to a brother or sister. Because when you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're wrong, you're just wrong. Man up. Say I'm sorry. Ask for forgiveness. If the person forgives you, fine. If they don't, ask for it again. 77 times I heard. 7 times. Ask. But don't be so prideful. See, that the I am better attitude comes with pride. Oh, them two, woo. Oh, Kim got it too. You can see the way he be strutting his little body around. He got it too. I like him and Trump getting a match, a ring together. Man, please. That's what they ought to do. Just go and put both of them in a ring and fight it out. Whoever win. That way we ain't got to blow each other up. Put them on WWF, wrestling somewhere. Put some boxing gloves on and see who knock each other out. Because both of them have that same attitude. The I am better attitude, and we have to kill that. But we got to kill it first within ourselves. Because we can't kill it in the nation. We can't kill it in the city. We can't kill it in the country unless we first destroy it amongst ourselves. And the only way we can do that is begin to see that person in the gutter. To see that young man that's coming out of prison as me. To see that young lady that's needs homeless. I see her as me. See that young student failing in school. I see them as me. They have a family that needs to be put intact. Young people that's struggling with marriage. I see them as me. I can help you. You learn by mistakes. Sometimes we too prideful to talk about our mistakes. Share them. That way nobody else will make them. Don't be so prideful that we have this shame that I did this, I did that. I've done a lot. But I keep running. I gotta keep running. It's having children, I gotta keep running. They need. So think about it, family. As we see that display, don't fall victim to it. As we see that pride, that gloating, that standing, and you better not touch us. Now, No, that's not us. That's not who we are. And that's not what we represent. I'm glad he said it, because now we're clear. These blue states that turned out yesterday, congratulations. I'll give you your claps, but you got a lot of work to do too. You blue, but you got a lot of work to do. And y'all just waiting on Obama to come back from resurrection and run another term. It ain't happening. You might as well go and get past it now. It's been a year. You're still waiting for some kind of special clause to come and bring our Savior back. Not going to happen. The Savior's not coming back. You better save yourself in this one. Get in here and support these businesses. Get these communities strong. Again, blackout. The blackout coming up Friday, Thanksgiving weekend. Black Friday, and that Saturday, we're blacking it out. We're going to black out. And we had, like I said, we had a meeting last night. We are going to Raleigh now. They're joining in. They're coming this way this time. Next time we're going across. The goal is by this time next year, when we call a blackout or when we call any event, that we simultaneously hit at least 7 to 8 cities in North Carolina at the same time. So what we're doing in Wilmington, they're doing in Charlotte. We're doing in Raleigh. They're doing in Durham. They have their spot. We have ours, and we hooked up with this technology. And we zooming in, and we blacking it out. And we're going to support these businesses. Go to the NoCovers.com page. On the NoCovers.com website, you'll find the Black Business Directory. Every weekend, go to that directory. I don't care what city you're in. You're in Charlotte. You're in Raleigh. You're in Durham. Go to the directory. Pull it up. Spend some money with your brothers and sisters that are struggling trying to get these businesses off the ground. If you never opened a business before, that's the hardest things to do. I've ran a business on myself. It's hard. We talk about black businesses and their failures. Yes, I admit they don't open the doors on time sometimes. I admit they may run out of stuff on the shelf sometimes. I admit you might not have the best quality service sometimes. But understand the barriers in place to get there. You're not going to the bank as a black business and getting it like that. A lot of times the skills are not there. A lot of times they're self-entrepreneurs. They're winging it. They're learning as they go. Didn't go to the finest business schools, couldn't get there. Not making excuses, just is what it is. So we have to love them as they are. So when I go by the store, I got to say, okay, let me go get a soda. Let me walk this extra lap, go over here to this store and buy a soda from brother, because I know he can use my income coming in to keep his store alive. That's all it takes. All it takes. We advertised on this show as Crossland Beauty Supply. Here's a prime example of what I'm talking about. On this show, advertised on a consistent basis is Crossland Beauty Supply. Mr. Thomas been over there forever and a day. In between him, at the other end, was a Korean beauty supply. They went and took out the old Family Dollar and created another Korean beauty supply and bunched him in the middle. He got one here on Market Street and one here on Dawson Street. Now, sisters, we buy more hair products than anybody in America. We buy more nail products than anybody in America. Anyone. We buy more weave and more wigs than anyone in America. It makes no sense for me to ride through Wilmington and see, oh, he don't have it. Let him order it. Just go a week ahead of time so he can order it, so you can have it for the date that you're going on. That's all. He might not have a big supply. Why? Because that's not how they operate. When they buy in bulk. They collectively buy. Now, with all the beauty and barbershops we have in town, if we could get them to come together, we could easily collectively buy, but we're not at that point yet. So in the meantime, here is what we need to do. If you buy hair grease, go see Crossland. If you buy hair pins, go see Crossland. If you buy gel for your locks, go see Crossland. If you buy any type of weave or wigs, go see Crossland. Barbers and beauticians, if you're not buying from the trucks that come, and those trucks are not black owned. Barbers and beauticians, if you need clipper blades, You need aprons. You need the little napkins that go around. Go see Mr. Thomas Crossland. Go to Crossland Beauty and Supply Store. It's that simple. If we get him up and running, then he can open another store across town and hire some people to run that store. But it makes no sense that every time I pull up in a parking lot, I see us coming out of their stores. No. Go see Crossland and go to Crossland, which is a black-owned, that's advertised on this black-owned station, so that we can continue to make some waves. And now that's not, let me, so for you go run off and tell somebody that he up there talking, that's nothing racist about that. That's nothing. I look in the Chinese restaurant and behind the counter, I see students that's Chinese. I see their daughters back there mopping the floor. That's nothing racist about that. Nothing racist. I'm not mad at them. They got Chinese food. I'm not mad. I go in the Korean store, it's the same way. I'm not mad. But just like when I was growing up, Mr. Scott had a fish market and was able to bring me in and teach me how to cut fish and teach me how to cut and clean fish. And I watched him ring the fish up and put the money in his cash register and take care of his family. I need to see the same thing for my children in their community. I need my children to see the same thing that I saw growing up. That's all. Go to your Black Business Directory. NoCovers.com. It lists the Black Business Directory. Go there, shop with our companies, our businesses, help them thrive, help them make it, and help them move forward in this mission. Remember, tomorrow we're talking Black Money with Floyd Morgan coming from Tax Cuts. He'll be here in the second half of our hour. Stay tuned. And as always, what do we say? We keep running. Peace and blessings.
Dawson Street. CLI Radio presents the North Carolina Black Business Directory's Blackout Friday weekend event. Shopping, food, music, and more. 9 a.m. until everything is gone.
It's going down Friday and Saturday, November 24th and 25th.
For more information, call 910-547-6674. For vendor info, RSVP at